Right now, we in the realm of quiet luxury. I got $10,000 for anybody in this room that can name the suit that I got on right now.
Pourquoi voulez-vous que je sois comme le tournesol qui tourne autour du soleil? Je suis moi-même le soleil.
It's the final weeks of commercial rap's fourth quarter, and while musical releases have our fullest attention, I want to know what rappers are wearing. From Tyler the Creator's Louis Vuitton capsule collection, Doechie's preppy transformation, or Kendrick Lamar's Red the Row hoodie, hip-hop continues its sundry relationship with the fashion industry. Fashion is not objective, but our ranking of 2024's best dressed rapper is definite. I'm Sayou Cooper, and this is The Griots, reporting on hip-hop culture through a mix of soapbox editorials, weird commercial breaks, and some very serious guests.
Before people like Kanye West, fashion was really only reserved for gay men.
Revolution, and darling, the house, up and coming fashion house of Sean John.
This hip-hop lecture begins with Ye, formerly Kanye West. In October of 2011, he's fresh off the release of the hugely successful Watch the Throne, a joint album with his big brother and mentor Jay-Z. Weeks later, Ye debuts DW by Kanye West 2012 Spring-Summer Collection. The feedback from the line is mixed and occasionally harsh, but the collaborated Giuseppe Zanotti Pearl Heels seen on the models are actually insane, and currently on one of my many Pinterest mood boards. 4 years later, Ye changes the relationship between fashion and hip-hop culture forever with the debut of Yeezy Season 1. I had a fake pair of the Yeezy Boost 350 in zebra print and was infatuated in Ye's outerwear such as bomber jackets. 9 years later, Ye has had a weird year, still releasing music and dressing up a new white wife.
My name is Ayo.
Alright, so welcome back to the channel, and today's video is a bit more chill.
Officially, I'm a fashion journalist. That's the title I like to use. I write articles for different magazines. I make fashion content online, but I also consult for brands behind the scenes on their marketing strategy.
I feel like the term rapper doesn't even apply to him anymore in a way, so it completely slipped my mind. But yeah, he's completely changed the entire game. So my name is Kyla Lee. I am a researcher, writer, fashion archivist, and just lover of the arts. I kind of dive into different avenues of fashion, like styling work. I do that. I work with celebrity clients or just my local artist friends.
Straight men didn't have the confidence to express themselves in any way until Kanye West. And so a lot of things that he wore, I'd say at the start, he used to dress kind of more like casual formal is what I call it. So he would wear like a varsity jacket with like cool sneakers and like shutter shades. Then he moved into an era of, you know, I'm on my like formal and that's when he was wearing like Bottega Veneta Chelsea boots with skinny bum on denim and, you know, Auntie Wilhelmina sweaters.
Every time Yeezy does something, it changes the way the world revolves. I feel like people kind of cling to it in a way where it's like, okay, that's what we're doing now. This is the new format. This is the new layout. We're wearing this.
There was a point in time in menswear when trends were Chelsea boots, biker jeans, certain like brands came with that. That was all from Kanye West. Like common men were wearing common projects with suits. That's all from Kanye West.
I have one of those tanks myself. Well, I got the romper. I got the full bodysuit. That was like a moment. Like you literally could not open your phone or go out without seeing the wet tank top. I think it had such a large influence because they played on what was already happening in present time. Like slogan tees are really big right now. Like those have had a major comeback.
So I still think he's stylish. I still think that he is kind of pushing menswear forward. I just don't think he's as influential as he was. I don't think people look to Kanye West anymore when it comes to style, like how people dress. I don't think he's influencing menswear trends the way he used to. I think now other people have kind of taken his place. in that sense, like especially someone like Playboy Carti.
Okay. I just cannot see that happening. Like everyone is kind of like an apprentice of Kanye. Like everyone is his son in a way. Like they're not gonna take that away from him because when Kanye moves, everyone moves. So it's like Playboy Carti is just a result of what Kanye has done, the foundation he has laid.
To be honest, I don't really think it has an identity anymore. It had a very strong identity when it first started. I think that's more to do with Ye himself being all over the place. Like, he might say something crazy tomorrow, who knows? So I think he's just kind of all over the place. One day, Yeezy is making merch about White Lives Matter. The next day, Yeezy is collaborating with Gap. The next day, I think it's a bit random. I don't think it has any identity now, but when it first started, it definitely had a clear identity.
So for this episode, I figure I might do a rundown of my fit since this is a fashion and investigative piece.
La paire là, c'est du Weston, hein? La paire, c'est du Weston. Ça va dans les... Bon, c'est cher, hein, un Weston. Je l'ai acheté parce que, comme un sapeur...
So I'm wearing a Uniqlo white t-shirt. I think Uniqlo have like the best form-fitting t-shirts. And then for the shoes, since I'm like always walking somewhere, I just have on some like New Balance 2002 Rs. But yeah. In 2021, Ghanaian-American designer and artistic director Virgil Abloh passed away after a short battle with cancer, a diagnosis the general public was unaware of. His professional work is defined by his inventions, Pyrex and Off-White, and finally his tenure as men's creative director at Louis Vuitton.
At the time I started Walkaware, it was a very misogynistic time within hip-hop. I had a big hesitation about trying to bring out a line being a woman.
Since the death of Virgil Abloh and Pharrell's appointment as his replacement, the French luxury fashion house is still the premier brand for most rappers.
Virgil Abloh has been working with Kanye West for like a really long time. Like he worked on like Donda 2 and stuff. He used to like go around with Kanye West. That's a big reason why both of them interned at Fendi.
Are there any like really bad dress rappers that you want to point out? Like people you immediately think like, oh my God, like awful.
Oh, I'm sorry. Lil Baby came to mind. I don't even know. I don't even check on Lil Baby, but he again gives like really Atlanta, and that's not a diss to Atlanta. I'm in Georgia, the South Atlanta right now, but it's like I love the culture, but it gives like very skinny, tight denim. Like it's like haven't figured out the proportions. It's too many logos. It's just like it's trying to be seen as a status of wealth, and it's like we get it.
Kanye West has a really cult following. So it's one of those things where if you're into Kanye West, you kind of know everything that happens around Kanye West. And so you would notice Virgil Abloh, you would know who he was. And so when Pyrex came out, it made sense because Kanye West was endorsing it. A$AP Rocky was in the campaign. You had A$AP Nasty in the campaigns as well. So all the hip hop heads that he kind of used to roll with, like the A$AP Mob, Kanye West, like these kind of people, they were all kind of integrated and promoting and wearing the clothes anyway.
No shade. I really appreciate their style. I had to say Lotto. I feel like
I am
Lotto,
shocked by that.
I know. Everything else is gonna make like sense, but I had to put Lotto because I feel like her outfits are so cute. I don't know who her stylist is. I've never seen her like credit anyone for styling unless it's an award show or red carpet, but just like her day-to-day looks. I like her color palette. It's very cozy girl, but like she'll have on like designer brands with like something you wouldn't think to pair it with, and it just looks so good and cool. So
speaking of cool, in addition to clothing, there were some interesting beauty and hair looks this year. Florida rapper Doechii ditching her wigs for some beaded cornrows. Best braids of the year go to A$AP Rocky though, who's been leading braided hairstyles in men's fashion for a while now. His braider is Tashana Miles, and she did this braided pearl look for Rocky's Billboard cover. African natural hair not manipulated is also more common. The visuals for Tyler the Creator's Chromecopia is a good example. Lastly, how can we forget about the lock community, a hairstyle that overtook the black natural hair space and hip-hop culture in recent years, largely led by southern rappers, particularly Lil Wayne. There's Jay-Z's Wick Locks, J. Cole's Freeforms, and Future's bleach ones. Makeup this year led by the hood's favorite weird black girl, JT, Megan Thee Stallion, Doechii, Doja Cat, and Sweetie are runner-ups. Faded haircuts never disappear, with Kendrick Lamar having the best hairline in the game, but back to Virgil.
Virgil Abloh made Louis Vuitton really successful financially. When Virgil Abloh was at Louis Vuitton passed 20 billion euros in annual revenue, which was a big goal that had never been reached in fashion ever. No fashion brand had ever reached 20 billion euros of revenue in 1 year, ever. And Louis Vuitton was the first, and a big reason for that was because of Virgil Abloh. And so in trying to think of how they could build on that success, they needed someone who is well versed in fashion, has experience designing clothes, has had successful brands, but also has a similar audience so they can build upon it. And at that point, Pharrell is really the only option. Who else is kind of embedded into hip hop, but also has a really deep understanding of fashion, has designed many things before, has had their own brand that's been successful, so they understand how a brand should work and operate.
To me, the first creative gesture was always skateboarding or graffiti. Pyrex Vision was sort of our early phase of making art.
Most of Virgil Abloh's quotes, he always references some sort of hip hop concept. So he will say something like, Duchamp is my lawyer, because historically Duchamp is an artist that was kind of blurring the lines between what does ownership mean and who really owns what.
Supreme is my Louis Vuitton. This to me is a Margiela of its time.
Historically, there wasn't like black people being given roles at the highest level of fashion. So historically, the only person that has been black and designed at a major, actually two people, that have designed at major fashion houses is Olivier Rousteing, who's been at Balmain for a really long time, and then Oswald Boateng, who was the creative director of Givenchy. So outside of those two, and maybe Edward Buchanan, who was creative director of Bottega, but when he was creative director of Bottega, it was kind of like an unknown brand. He was like one of the first creative directors of Bottega, so this was like early days when no one knew what it was. So it's just, we don't really get those opportunities if you don't see black people in those positions. So I think it was actually insane because for years and years and years and years, there were so many black designers who we thought deserved to be on that level, like Shane Oliver, like Virgil Abloh before he was finally hired, like people like Telfar. So it was more just like, wow, finally. During Black Lives Matter, and he had the pledge, and people were really angry about him, which I think was a bit unfounded, because the reason why he wanted an affordable pledge is so that people can match it. That was the point. And people mistook what he meant and said, because separately he had donated hundreds of thousands. So that was like, I remember one thing that he was critiqued heavily for. I think another thing that he's been critiqued heavily for is one time, I think one of his teams of Off-White, everyone was white. Now, I get it, but I don't get it, because when you think of the region in which his factories were, because his brand was owned partially by New Guards Group. New Guards Group are the people that do the production for Off-White. Well, at least back then, that was run by people like Claudio Antonioli, who also owns a store in Italy. That region of Italy, there aren't really black people. So even if he wanted to hire black people, do black people want to go there? Do black people want to live there? That's another thing. It's like, So I think sometimes there isn't a lot of nuance when people have these conversations. It's just a picture comes out, there's no black person, so he doesn't help black people, which isn't true, because I think Virgil Abloh, I've never actually seen a designer help as many other designers as him. I've never actually seen it, especially black designers. I know so many black designers that are successful now because of Virgil Abloh, whether it's through his mentorship or him actually just opening doors for people. Like I said, he wore a young black designer's clothing to the Met Gala. Like, he was under no obligation to do that. He did that simply because he wanted to highlight a young black designer and help them get more visibility. And that's what he always used to do, constantly. Constantly used to talk about different black designers, constantly used to help them, constantly used to mentor them. Some people he would even support financially. So I think it's very unfounded to me when it comes to Virgil Abloh. With Tremaine, it's a bit different.
Today we're celebrating the season of light.
Dear Santa, you are a Wait, hold on.
The Griots wishes our subscribers a happy holidays and safe travels to wherever you call home. For new people, thanks for clicking this video. We hope you stay a while longer.
My number one for best dressed of 2024 is Lil Yachty.
I dressed you. I dressed all 5 of y'all niggas. I dressed 5 every time we stepped out the house. I put an outfit on everybody.
Hate him or love him, it's a clean sweep for the Griots' best dressed rapper, Lil Yachty.
I think his style is so dope. Like, I think that's how I describe it, just dope. Like, he has a wardrobe where I'm like, I just want to rummage through it and wear all the clothes. Like, just even as far as silhouettes, he wears a lot of baggy jeans, oversized jackets, and that's kind of like my style. I like oversized clothing. I like menswear a lot too, and I feel like he does it really well. And I see how he does it well because like he styles like women, like Caribou, he styled her before, and I like how like his clothes, like I could see it on her and I could see it on him, and it looks great, like unisex.
Hip hop, or let's say the music, is always influenced by cultural things that happen in the country. So in the US, for example, the reason why, let's say, Jordans is embedded heavily into hip hop, or people wear varsity jackets or athletic gear, is because hip hop is kind of embedded into American sports, and one of the biggest American sports being basketball. Now in the UK, basketball isn't popular. So when you look at our hip hop scene, the clothing that we wear reflects things like football, what you guys call soccer, and like the culture around that.
I feel like he's revolutionized Tim's. Like, I don't know how he did that because he's not from up north. Like, Tim's is a generational thing. Like, Tim's will never go out of style. But I feel like for maybe, let's say 5 years, 2 years, like people weren't wearing Tim's like day to day. Like, Tim's was something people was bringing out the closet when like winter came around.
I don't know if you know Little Sims, but she has definitely been like embedded into like the fashion scene. Like, she walks on the runways and like she's in the campaign. In fact, she was in the latest Gucci campaign that they did in the Savoy. She was one of the faces of the campaign.
Best dressed female rapper, and ranked at number 2 on our list, is the City Cinderella, JT.
I love JT. Like, I see myself in her a lot. Like, she is so cool, the epitome of cool to me, because she's like just this girl from the hood who dresses like a weirdo. And she says that in one of her songs, No Bars, like, hood chick dressed like a weirdo.
She shines best in editorial looks such as the cover stories for Paper and Essence magazines. Hardest fashion moments of the year are probably the cover art for the City Cinderella mixtape and her Marnie fur coat moment. And despite the limited budget for the City Cinderella tour, the wardrobe was quite ambitious. She and Doechie's link up for Alter Ego was an alt-black girl's dream. Shout out to the trailblazer, Rico Nasty. Are there any like fashion brands that she's been pretty consistent with working this year? That stuff she tends to go back to often?
Moa Lola, I noticed she did like Moa Lola did like a custom bodysuit for her, and like no one has ever like posted about it or like done like any like research. I mean, like, well, I've looked into it, but I can't find any information on it. But I know Moa Lola, she takes like custom commissions. She mentioned that in an interview, like people come to her and like ask her to make garments. So I feel like that's one of the pieces that she asked her to make. And like, I'm like, this is so cool. Why is anyone talking about this? But also, she's like done a music video for her. She's had her in her ad campaigns for the Beats by Dre headphones. So I just feel like that pairing together creates such a good look. Like Moa Lola is also just like a weirdo in fashion, just like a weird black girl.
Because the thing about Skepta, I love what he does. Like, he has a brand, Mains, and he had a runway show with Mains at the last London Fashion Week, actually, like really recently. But I think no one talks about it though.
At number 3 is Playboi Carti. He begins the year with an appearance at the Vultures listening party wearing a Pile Pile heritage jacket and some Timbs from the Moa Loa collaboration. His mesh Rick Owens bodysuit worn a few days earlier is a big social media chatter moment. His most consistent accessory this year is durags, pairing them with sports jerseys and YVL, Young Vamp Life encrusted diamond jewelry.
He's definitely pushing the boundaries. Up until present time, there's not many people as rappers that have dressed like him. Like, he's completely changed what it means to be a rapper, I feel, in terms of fashion. Like, there's no one that looks like him. And I think that's great that he's carved his own identity and own lane.
The way he dresses has literally been called, like, there's a term for it, like opium. Like, so when you think of like Playboi Carti and opium, you think of people wearing Balenciaga and Rick Owens and wearing like all these dark brands, all black.
I think Playboi Carti's audience is a very, I guess, white teenage boy audience. So it's like they're looking for something to cling to. So when he does it, it's like, okay, we have to follow like our leader. Like, they're very like minions in a way. I think like they're just like, I have to do it because Carti said to do it. So if we're wearing all black Rick Owens boots that don't really fit, we're gonna wear those boots. Or if he's wearing a baseball jersey and a do-rag, okay, we have to switch it up. We're gonna do that now.
Coming in at number 4, the Swamp Princess, Doechii. Before the release of Alligator Bites Never Heal, Doechii's style was firmly in the alternative lane, weird wigs, colored contacts, and bold makeup. After the late August release of her mixtape, she deliberately toned it down. She's wearing a lot of preppy Miu Miu and Tom Brown. The color palette is greens, browns, and warm neutral tones, a stylistic uniform that kind of reminds you of Tyler the Creator's project rollouts. She still hasn't completely left weirdcore though, for example, dressing up as a man for her Paper magazine photo shoot, or Banish and Stain in Willie Chavaria.
For Alligator Bites Never Heal, this current era that she's in, she has been doing a very like studious and collegiate look, and I adore it. Like, it's very Tom Brown coded and I love it. It's like the blazers, the little ascot in the pocket, the pleated skirts. I think it's so cool because just as a fan, it kind of gives me this idea like she's a student of rap, like she's a student of the game. Like, I don't know what happened in the boardroom meeting when she was coming up with this whole marketing thing, but that's what I kind of get from it. Like, I'm a student, like I'm still learning as I'm going, but I am actively studying and producing hip hop, you know? So
while he usually tops most rap lists at number 1, for this ranking, Compton's very own Kendrick Lamar takes 5th place, popping out in July with this Tupac-inspired styling and that Prada bomber jacket for his October Harper's Bazaar cover. He's more active on his not-so-secret Finsta, so you do get glimpses into his everyday style. Best styling moments of the year, the They Not Like Us music video with clothing mostly from British Jamaican fashion designer Martine Rose.
So when he first like came out as an artist, was not looking to him as fashion. Like, everyone was glued to his lyrics and his music. Like, he has great music and people respect him for that. But I think now recently in this like current era of music that he's doing, he's become a lot more fashionable. He's giving very like grown man, well put together. Like, and the They Not Like Us video, I've watched it like a million times. I love that video. It's so cool. He was wearing a lot of Martine Rose, the black designer. I believe she's like from London or something, the UK. It's just very posh. Like, it's very upper echelon, like black luxury, I feel. I think that's what he gives. He gives very much luxury, but not in your face. Like, I'm wearing designer, I'm wearing Gucci, da 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 da. It's just like, I have on a very nice pair of pants right now on a very nice shirt, and it looks good, you know?
Where Denim Tears is at, culturally, and financially. I didn't need the job, so why'd I take it?
In terms of trends, brands-wise, it's still definitely Chrome Hearts. Like, I honestly, every time I open Twitter, it's just some rapper trying to buy Chrome Hearts, honestly.
I feel like Offset is like, I'm not a fan of his like fashion. I feel like it gives like so Atlanta, like middle of the mall type fashion. And it's like he has the means to shop well. Like he's wearing the brands we know, but it's like, it's just, I don't know, is it because he's him or just the way he puts it on? Like he's not badly dressed, but it's not anything I'm impressed with.
Even a lot of these hip-hop artists, they're kind of rebranding themselves to kind of be the perfect fit for certain brands. It's just interesting to observe.
Weirdly enough, I like Gunna's style. Like I feel like I've never seen him in person, but I feel like if he was like down the street and like I saw the back of his like his silhouette, I would know it was him because he has a very like identifiable look. Like he has a very like short torso, so he's gonna wear like a boxy t-shirt with like a short sleeve, and then he has long legs, so he's always wearing like a stacked pant or a boot cut flared pant.
Versace was one of the earliest brands to adopt hip-hop as a thing, but it was still kind of like from an arm's length. And I don't think it was until you had people like Kanye West wearing women's wear Celine, endorsing people like Phoebe Philo, doing all these things, going to the Paris Fashion Week shows. You had people like A$AP Rocky on 106 and Park wearing a skirt with Air Force Ones, and people like roasting him. He was wearing Under Mister and stuff like that. That people started to also view rappers as like, oh, these people actually know about fashion. It's not just about wearing loud logos. And I think that helped to change people's perceptions about hip hop.
He definitely like put everyone on like in New York. Like he created like this whole wavy vibe where everyone's like, oh, we're wearing like Jeremy Scott's now, and like what was he wearing around that time? Just what Hood by Air and stuff like that. Like he definitely contributed to building streetwear culture like that. He laid a foundation for us. But I feel like present day, like I still think of him as a music artist, a rapper, but I feel like he's so like upper echelon now where it's like people aren't really looking at him. Like he's in the public eye because of who he's dating. He's with Rihanna, who is like a fashion mogul. Like she is what fashion is. People look to Rihanna. So it's like I don't look at him for fashion anymore. I wish I could, but I'm just not necessarily interested in what he's wearing. I'm interested in what the person next to him is wearing.
So there are people that definitely have cool style, but I think because fashion is snobby once again, so I think fashion people don't really take someone seriously just because they dress a certain way, unless like they've shown that they know about fashion.
I love Megan too. Like I have a very soft spot for her in my heart, but I feel like I don't feel like people look to her for her fashion. Like she's very personality based. I feel like that's why she gets a lot of brand deals and brand partnerships, is because she has this very outgoing, lovable, fun personality. I don't think people are like, what's Megan Thee Stallion wearing? What's she doing now? Like people aren't looking to her for that. I feel like recently though, like she's been very involved with like anime and Japanese culture, and she's been taking some trips to Japan, and I feel like that has spotlighted her fashion because it's showing her personal expression. Like her style is now reflecting what she's really into.
I think Pharrell Williams has literally made men buy handbags. It's insane. Like men are literally wearing Louis Vuitton Speedies, which is like mind-blowing before, because I feel like 5 years ago as a man, if you wore a Speedy, people would probably call you gay. Whereas now in hip hop, men all carry Speedies.
Something that doesn't get talked about enough, I think, just like this society, like post Virgil.
I knew from like a kid I really wanted to be in fashion. I was super into just the different combinations you could put together. I would just like every day at school, like fashion was like my go-to. Even though I was super scholarly, like into the books, like what I wore was like the most exciting thing for me, I think.
I think I've always been interested in fashion, just being Nigerian. I think fashion and the way you look is something that has always been important culturally.
My high school days was all like Tyler the Creator. I'm like super like geeked out fan about Tyler. Like, that was my life. Like, wearing Odd Future t-shirts, like shopping at Zoomies, like just get a OFT.
So I actually became a fashion journalist by making YouTube videos because I was young when I started making YouTube videos, and I think you can't really write articles for magazines being that young because people don't take you seriously. So
his color palette has kind of changed. Like, I feel currently he's very into pastels with his Le Fleur brand. He wears a lot of pastels, pinks, baby blues, like seafoam green.
Virgil Abloh, I think, single-handedly changed the fashion industry because in fashion, it was always, because fashion, especially high fashion, is a very snobbish side of fashion. It's very much like you have to go to the right schools, you have to study fashion design at Parsons or FIT or Central St. Martin's or Polymoda in Italy, or those kind of places. And you have to have worked at Balenciaga for 10 years and worked at Louis Vuitton or Margiela, and then you can become a creative director. There's like a rite of passage, it seems like. And so if you don't follow that traditional rite of passage, almost no one takes you seriously.
I want to see people like kind of be more of a character, like just like really expand on the person they are and create a character out of it. Because Tyler does that, Doechii does that in a way, Tierra Whack does that in a way. Like, they are themselves, and then they create this whole garment around it.
I almost think that brands try too hard. They like make these ultra innovative things that sometimes it sells, sometimes it doesn't, because it's so avant-garde and so like out there. And what Virgil Abloh came and did was, well, once again, his whole Duchamp, him saying Duchamp is my lawyer. It's like, okay, what does luxury mean? Who decides what luxury is? Why can luxury only come from Balenciaga? And what about the clothing makes it luxury? What if I make a hoodie, but I just change the context in which the hoodie is worn?
I feel like Tierra Whack is like in a whole different stratosphere. She like has this so funky, cool, whimsical, cartoony like style. Like, she's a character, and it's kind of like, no offense, like clown-esque. Like, it's like she's like not in like a caricature kind of way, but it's like she's not afraid to wear funky bright patterns and colors and like do a whole monochromatic look with like this crazy big silhouette.
With Denim Tears, I don't really know what his goal is. It's very hard to figure out his goal, because kind of like what you're saying, the point you brought up earlier, where it's like, you can make whatever you're making, but if the audience is white people, especially, how do you contend with that? And what does that actually mean for what you're trying to achieve? If you're making, like in Supreme, for example, a big discourse was he wanted artwork. He wanted to work, he wanted to basically put artwork that depicts slavery and images of slavery on clothing with Supreme, which he thought was kind of like more highlighting it. But then you have to consider, who is the audience buying this stuff? As many white teenagers. Do white teenagers want to wear depictions of black slavery on them? And if they're buying it, are they buying it because they care about slavery, or are they buying it because it's just like a caricature of like what they think is cool? Are you doing it because you are trying to highlight black slavery, or do you also realize that when you do that, you are in a way kind of commodifying slavery? You're turning the imagery into a commodity to be sold.
The girls are selling all the clothes and the brands. Like, they are the ones getting the deals. I feel like male rappers is like slim pickings with them. It's hard to find a male rapper who could even be a face of a brand just by their music content. It's kind of hard to put someone on the face of, like, I don't know, Louis Vuitton, and they're like rapping about violence and stuff like that. So it's like the woman, they could clean it up and be like cute and pretty. Like, they could double as a model. So the women are the one really doing it in terms of fashion. Men, they're kind of on the back burner right now.
There has always been a strong link between fashion and hip hop, I think, in my mind. But I think it's a lot stronger now. I think now, especially because the mainstream fashion industry is accepting hip-hop worldwide, whereas I'd say in the 90s that definitely wasn't the case.
Reporting from the east coast of the American Empire, I'm Sayou Cooper, and this is The Griots. I wrote and produced this episode. Our theme song for this season is Jaws by Suzuki-san. Our Instagram and other cool stuff can be found on our website. Links are always in the description. Thank you to the ancestors. Until next time.